Humans aren't born out of laying around on their asses. We're the dominant species. We built all this. We're powerful, and we're beautiful, and we're ready to build the next level of civilization in God's plan. If you love God and you want to build a pro-human future, you must become the victor. But you have to believe in yourself first. This is the truth, and everyone knows it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you go to my YouTube community tab, I posted this here. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, there are many, many different shit posts that I put out there. You know, things where we can just have some fun. You know, you can feel free to post what you want. I don't curate anything. Whether you like something, whether you don't like something, my YouTube community tab is just an overall fun place to let yourself be free to make jokes and not feel bad about it. But I posted this, and I made a comment, and some people took it the wrong way. They said, well, Yasuke is still in the game. It's like, well, of course he is, but my point was not to say that Yasuke wasn't in the game anymore. That would be too intelligent for Ubisoft at the current moment. But he's being removed from the promotional material. They are limiting his involvement in the stuff that you just see as you scroll through Assassin's Creed Shadows. So the one at the top is obviously before, and they've taken out the Torigate, they've taken out Yasuke, and they've basically just done a close-up on the female assassin's face. Now, I've made it abundantly clear in other videos what I would do in this particular situation. This game is not going to sell well. I would be very, very surprised if it did. I know that a lot of people say, well, it's Assassin's Creed, and in the past Assassin's Creed has sold well. That's true. You can say, you know, look at Valhalla. Well, there is a huge difference. We culturally are living in a different time, and we've seen from Dragon Age the Veilguard that pedigree and legacy of these IPs don't mean diddly squat anymore. They just don't. Dragon Age the Veilguard, you have to understand, we're not going to get too far into that game. I just did a video on it that's uploading currently. But Dragon Age the Veilguard was coming off of the back of the success of Inquisition. I personally didn't like Dragon Age Inquisition, but it sold over 12 million copies. That's pretty respectable. That's a pretty decent number. But do you know how many Dragon Age the Veilguard sold? It sold, and this is a very liberal estimate, about 2 million copies. In the EA financial report, they said they had about 1.5 million players. Maximum. Total. That is absolutely insane. If you want to know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about the report where they basically break it down, where engaged around 1.5 million players during the 3 months. So, that's October, November, December. That's when they're judging this. They're not judging it based on January. So, by the end of December, their engagement number, not their sales numbers, their engagement number was 1.5 million. And that is about 50% of their projected goal. So, missed the company's expectations by nearly 50%. And the result of that, by the way, we take a look. This is the stock for EA. I just want to bring this up again because we're going to be talking about Ubisoft. Their stock was, as of 3 days ago, it was $142 a share. It currently sits at $116. For those who don't trade in stocks, that is what we call a collapse. This line right here that you're seeing may as well be a guillotine to chop off the head of the studio. that was involved with this. And the reason I bring it up, the reason that I talk about it is because we do want to avoid that happening. And we want to have games be, we want games to be good again. And so I give my advice, I give my feedback in the hopes that somebody would listen. Somebody would be like, okay, we're losing all this money. We're losing all these reputation points. We're going through employees, layoffs, firings. We're basically hemorrhaging reputation, money, and staff. What can we do to stop this and be profitable? And I don't expect it, but in the off chance somebody sees this video, I would hope that they would be able to hear the logic and reason that I'm putting out there that may help to, stop the hemorrhaging or stop the bleeding. Maybe hemorrhage put in some kind of block, some kind of clotting to help stop what's going on. And the first thing that you have to do, the first thing that you have to understand is that you're not making games for the internal team that works at your company. You're making a product for people outside of your bubble. And this may be uncomfortable for you to hear, but here it is. When you're having a game take place in feudal Japan, as a general rule, if you want to make things easier on yourself, if you want to not maybe go through so many hurdles, have a Japanese fighting age man as the main character. Make him interesting, make his armor look absolutely badass. Have a couple attractive women in the game to sort of round things out. And just have the aesthetics be very, very cool, very, very interesting. If you do that, you're going to have a much easier time. And people are going to be more amenable to what you're selling. Now, if you decide we're going to have a black man, and we're going to basically rewrite Japanese history, we're going to bastardize it, we're going to take iconic Japanese elements and put it in our merchandise, even though we were told not to, even though it's against the law in Japan. If you take the sword of Roronoa Zoro from One Piece and give it to Yasuke as though it's some kind of historical thing, if you put Japanese writing on your products and then send them to Japanese content creators, and it's just basically gibberish, you have to understand that there's going to be an impact for that. There's going to be a ramification for that. Your incompetence and your ignorance is going to end up being added into the equation of, does the game look amazing? Is the gameplay great? All of that other stuff. All of it plays a role. You have a game that looks all right. It looks all right. The gameplay looks like total dog water, but a lot of the other stuff looks all right. If I were in your position, I'd take this game off the market. I would change the name, because the name Assassin's Creed Shadows has already generated too much bad will. I would remove both of these characters. I would have a Japanese fighting age man as the only playable main character in the game. And if you like the story, you can still go with it, but you're going to change things around a little bit. The main character is going to be a man. If you do that, if you actually put some time, you put about a year of work, put about $10 million into the game, you may be able to salvage it. Maybe. But based on the climate at Ubisoft, based on the politics that we see here, based on your inability to even address or acknowledge the stuff in an adequate way, I don't think that you have the time, the money, or the will to do it. So you're going to release the game. You're going to try to hide Yasuke and make people forget about him. And then the game's going to come out and people, I'm sure it'll do maybe like 300,000 to 400,000 on Steam. But it's not going to be the game that you need it to be. Because what you need is a Black Myth Wukong. What you need is like a 2 million, 2.5 million player count game on Steam, and I just don't see it. You refuse to do what needs to be done because you don't want to look bad to your staff, but those same staff are going to be unemployed. They're going to be terminated because you're not going to be able to keep them around once, Tencent or once NetEase or whoever else, when somebody comes to buy you because your company and your product is so worthless, you're not gonna know what to do. All these people are gonna look at you and say, "What the hell?" So let's take a look real quick. Let's take a look at Ubisoft stock. So right now, Ubisoft stock is actually up. It's actually up. Right now, it's up 7%. But I got to tell you, that 7%, is actually, it's actually not that impressive. You're at the lowest point that potentially you've ever, I think actually you were lower in October, because that looks like it's 10. But if we go back 5 years, look, let me make sure you can see that. Look at the price back here. So this is in 2020. 70, 69, 70, 65, 76, 80. Look at here. The peak, 85 euros. And then February 5th, 2021 starts to go down. It rebounds a little bit, it goes down again. And it has declined and gone down ever since. Oh, it rebounded a little bit. It went from, that's a rebound. Oh, and then it plummeted again. And then it went up again. It was a little bit, and then it just, look at that. $44, 44 euros. All the way down. All the way down. And now, I bet at the time you probably thought, okay, this is rock bottom. It can't get any worse. And then we go up a little bit. We're back up to 30 euros. And then just collapse. Oh, what was this? Just making sure. We get the lowest point, $10.48. And then now you are at £11.89. Your stock, according to this, has dropped nearly 82% over the last 5 years. That is absolutely... Oh, if you go back to 1997, let's see. Your stock price was higher. Your stock price was higher in 2020. That is absolutely insane. Your stock price was higher in 2014, like consistently higher. Look at this. My point in showing this is because this company used to mean something. It used to be a big deal. It used to be a force to be reckoned with when it comes to content creation. And now the game is so bad that even people like Yang Ya, who are amenable to this sort of woke stuff, even he is just absolutely underwhelmed by the game. If this guy is underwhelmed by the game, and he is obviously your core target demographic, he's an anti-Trump, left-weight, he's somebody that supports wokeness and DEI and, identity politics. If your core demographic, the person that you're trying to appeal to, the type of person that you're trying to appeal to, is telling you that they have concerns and that they're not really engaged in your story. That's what this part is right here. I was watching this. This is basically where Young Ye talks about the story.
World games tend to have. As far as like the story and narrative are concerned, nothing shown in this demo really grabbed me. In some part to do with just how stiff some of the animations look during cutscenes, and the presentation is just, when I look at what, say, like Ghost of Tsushima did, in comparison, this just feels like a bit of a step down, but maybe the narrative will hook me as the rest of the game goes along. But so far,
Yeah, it was boring for the first 4 hours, but maybe later it'll. I mean, that's somebody that desperately wants to like the. Well, it's been bad so far, and I don't like it, and it hasn't captured me, but it could be good. That person is saying that they were underwhelmed. So you have a lot of work to do if you want to get this game up to par. But I don't think you're going to do it. I think you're going to release the game. I think you're going to take the reputational blow that you can't take. You don't have the capital. You don't have the will. You don't have anything that you once had to tank a blow like this. So I think honestly, I think this is going to kill you. I think that your brand, your reputation, and everything else off the back of Star Wars Outlaws, I think this is going to kill you. And some Chinese company is going to come in and buy you for pennies on the dollar. And you're going to be Ubisoft, that company that used to make good games and has basically gone out of business, and that DEI killed. Now, it's not just DEI, don't get me wrong, but it is a huge component of it. It's a huge component of it. The microtransaction stuff obviously didn't work out too well for you. But it's that you forgot what making games is about, which is making something for the audience. And nobody was asking for an Assassin's Creed game where you play as a character like Yasuke. It plays a black man in feudal Japan. Nobody asked for that. In the same way, nobody was asking for Assassin's Creed Africa, where you play as a white guy that visited there once in 1625. This also would be a bad idea. But you actually tried one of these. You really made a game in feudal Japan, and you had a black man in there that was historically irrelevant, that you had to add in a whole bunch of. It is the most condescendingly racist thing in the world that you have to scour through history of Japan to find the one black guy that was there, and then turn him into, oh, he's the first samurai. You are pathetic, and this is the consequence of your own action. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave it on this image. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.